Last semester, I was enrolled in a course here at Ball State University, obviously. That course was Comm 290, which is an intercultural communication class. I took it mainly because I had to get it over and done with for my major, but little did I know that it would benefit me so greatly in just 3 short months after my course ended. This past summer, I worked at a 7-week-long summer camp in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. When I got the job, I was kind of informed that there would be international employees there, but I really didn't think twice about it, just thought it'd be a normal interaction, whatever. But when I finally arrived in the beginning of the summer, the first 2 people, literally the first 2 people that I ever talked to had English accents. I kind of freaked out and thought 2 things. What the heck did I get myself into, and why didn't I pay more attention in my intercultural communication class? I finally took a deep breath, reassessed myself, and gained the confidence in myself and in my knowledge that I could make this the best summer yet still. Through my personal experience, background knowledge, and some extra research that I've done, I believe it is crucial to understand all there is about the intercultural communication, such as different cultural values and conception of time. In my opinion, the first, and what I believe is most important, step to having a conversation with a foreigner or someone who is from a different culture than yourself is to go into the conversation with just an open mind. I believe in order to have a successful interpersonal conversation with a foreigner, you have to leave all of your negative perceptions, stereotypes, and any previous conceptions back at home. Based on experience, I think it is important to have a basic understanding of what intercultural communication actually is and what it all entails. According to internations.org, updated last in 2016, intercultural communication is defined as exchanging information between people from different cultures. There is a lot that takes part in intercultural communication when determining if someone is actually from a different culture than yourself. There is the obvious differences, of course, such as the clothing, religion, language, race, ethnicity, etc. But it gets more into depth than what is on the surface. It's about the cultural patterns that are within one's culture. According to the textbook Intercultural Competence, written by Myron Lustig and Jolene Poster, that was published back in 2014, cultural patterns are beliefs, values, and norms practiced by the majority of a given culture's members over time. Because of my prior academic experience, I'm aware that there are 6 dimensions of cultural patterns defined by Jarrett Hostiff. These 6 dimensions include power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, long-term versus short-term orientation, and indulgence versus restraint. For the sake of time, I'm only really going to focus and drill into one of these. In an interview conducted back in 2015 with my friend Youssef Al-Badad, who was from Saudi Arabia, explained how power distance is such a dominant and prominent factor in his hometown and his home country. Saudi Arabia actually has one of the highest power distance in the world. For the sake of the audience, host Steph defines power distance as the extent to which the less powerful members of an organization and institutions accept and expect that power is distributed unequally. He informed me about how power distance plays a huge role in families over in Saudi Arabia. He said that the father of the family holds the authority in the household, and that family relations are more of a formal connection rather than ones we are more familiar with here in the U.S. He also mentioned that Saudi Arabian women do not drive. His mother does not work, but it is her choice not to work. And since she doesn't work nor can she drive, she spends most of her time at home most of her days. I think we can all vouch for this and say that this is not how things are ran in the United States. I believe that this is an important aspect to understand during interpersonal conversations because you could easily get offended, or misunderstand any messages. You also never know when you're going to encounter a male or female that is from a high power distance culture. For an example, you could get a new boss who storms in and is so rude and is so strict and shouts judgmental and demeaning comments, especially at his women employees. Here in America, women will not put up with that, and so it is so important to understand where he is coming from, and that's just how he was brought up, and that's what the culture he is from. Because if someone doesn't understand those aspects of his culture, like, this could turn into something completely bigger and make this a whole complete problem that no one ever expected would come from it. Steering away a little from the 6 dimensions of the cultural patterns, another aspect I believe is so important to understand is that not all countries view time and space the same. According to an article written by Michelle LeBron back in July of 2003, she states that the western part of the world looks at time is looked as units that measure the progression of the day. So here in the United States, we have all heard of the saying, time is money, meaning that we appreciate efficiency so much. This view on time is commonly known as a monochronic culture. We Americans love to have things planned and to do things one by one, and having a set schedule that manages every single minute of every single day of our entire lives. We are always on the move, and we are always trying to think of what we're going to be doing next. As for other countries, they view time in a polychronic way, meaning they see time as continuous, whereas monochronic cultures view time as discrete. In polychronic cultures, they really never have a set plan, or their appointments and deadlines are flexible. So like I mentioned before, I met a great amount of international people during the summer. During that experience, I gained a very strong relationship with a man from Spain. Martin is from Murcia, Spain, which is a small city down on the south side. In an interview conducted on September 6, 2016, Martin stated that in his country, they try to enjoy as much as possible throughout their day in a certain situation without trying to think of something onto the next thing or the activity that they have to do next. We are more of a go-with-the-flow kind of people, unlike you Americans, is what he had said. He also stated that it was shocking to see how Americans don't really enjoy their day to the fullest because we are always having to work or worry about what we have to do next rather than just relaxing and enjoying our time and taking it all in, and life is beautiful and so on and so forth. I experienced this difference firsthand actually when camp ended. Martin and I went on a trip to New York City for the weekend after camp ended, just as a farewell before he left the country and before I had to come back to the United States. Or I was in the United States before I had to come back to Ball State. During our adventures throughout the city, I found myself actually getting really mad and frustrated at him. I wanted to go see and do everything possibly the city could offer, and he just wanted to, see everything and take his time and enjoy his walk through the city. But I was over here, I had a strict itinerary, wanted to go to, and nothing would ever stop me from following that itinerary. Looking back now, I'm so ashamed of how I acted, especially because I did have prior knowledge of how our different time orientations are and how they construe each other. Knowing this information is so beneficial, especially when it comes to interpersonal communication. My encounterments with Martin could have been enhanced if I would have recognized these differences sooner and altered my thought process. This could relate to the workforce as well. If you are coworkers, for instance, with someone who is from Spain or anyone from a polychronic culture, you may find yourself getting frustrated or upset like I did in New York. They don't take deadlines strictly, and many of them view the American time orientation as stressful and pressured and shocking. So maybe if you find yourself in a similar situation as I did, you can realize your behavior sooner and not make a fool of yourself like myself. In conclusion, there is so much more to learn about intercultural communication, but I trust that if you understand the concepts of the cultural differences that are within one's culture, you can thrive when it comes to interpersonal communication and the conversations with people all around the world. I only focused on 2 basic points here of intercultural communication because that's what really drove me to my past intercultural experiences. But on the side note, just maybe a thought is maybe that the reason why there are so many problems and conflicts between countries nowadays is because we don't fully understand each other's cultures and we don't fully understand how to communicate effectively between the 2 cultures. So we just really misunderstand each other and we just don't know how to communicate effectively. So I believe that everyone should be knowledgeable and know how to communicate in an intercultural manner in order to enhance relationships and experiences for the rest of your life all over the world. Thank you.